Pretty recently, I actually went to Disney World. I went there with my family because I'm an adult man. And while I grew up going to Disney World, actually, in fact, I'm wearing a Twilight Zone Tower of Terror t-shirt. I'm not a Disney adult. I grew up going there with my family. We went there. It was a lot of fun. Go to Disney World, every couple of years. And I had family in Florida. It was just a regular treat. And when I was a kid, when you would go to Disney World, it was for kids. There'd be other kids there. And then in recent history, I've noticed for the past, 15 years, more and more, it's not for kids. Now, they always had Epcot for people to get drunk so that they could stop paying attention to their children for a little while. I kind of understand that. But all of a sudden, the non-boring parks at Disney were also for adults. The Magic Kingdom, which is supposed to be the most magical place for a child on earth. That's for an adult now somehow. And by the way, very little has changed about it. It's the same characters. There's still a teenager walking around swimming in their own soup inside of a Goofy costume, but it's the adults taking photos with them. They opened up a brand new park. I didn't go to it, by the way. They opened up this Star Wars park at Disney World, and they'll have some poor girl walking around as Rey from the most famous and most enjoyable part of Star Wars, the sequel trilogy. And I'm sure this girl's doing her best. She's some Florida hick doing her best British accent for some reason, because for some reason that character had a British accent. And then what happens is some 55-year-old guy sweating, drooling on himself, recording for his horrifying Instagram account of other Disney adults, zombified, fluoride-filled freaks. He goes up to her and interacts with her as if she is Rey from Star Wars. Which, by the way, even if you were a child, how do you do that? That's barely a character. It would make more sense to me to go up to Donald Duck. That guy's got some history. He's got some character. Rey? Are you sure? Anyway, all of this is to say, I went to Disney World. I was pleased to see, in a way, I was actually very pissed about this. Everywhere it's strollers. Strollers everywhere. As far as the eye can see, they've got entire parking lots outside of every ride for strollers because it's Baby City. And I'm like, thank God. This is not just some man-baby haven. It's not this horrifying place because, there's this dark, almost sinister undercurrent going on when it comes to Disney adults. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there is something afoot. When you see a Disney adult, your inherent fight or flight instincts kick in. And deep down, there's something wrong with them. So I see, okay, these are just parents bringing their kids to the park. This is great. And, I had a terrible time when I was there because I'm an adult. But there was something else I noticed too. The influencers. The influencers were there and they were recording. And they were recording all their snacks. Oh, you got to know the latest snack if you are an adult going to Disney World trying to spend as much money as humanly possible. You definitely want to know which snow globe to buy. You can spot these freaks from a mile away because, again, there is an almost satanic aura around them. Now, all of this to say, I had a terrible time, but my children had an amazing time. It was a blast. They loved it. Of course they did. It's built for them. I had fun when I was a kid. They have fun. And then I'm just there to be dragged around as a chaperone while Mickey delights and entertains. It was a truly magical experience for my kids. The difference here is I have kids. Now, all of this comes to mind because I saw a tweet by this guy, Royce Lopez. He's the conservative grifter host of DAYWAVE Radio and Revenge of the Cis. I've been following him for some time. You may be familiar with his partner, Mersh. And I saw him post this very fancy photo of himself in France. And I went, whoa, I guess Revenge of the Cis is doing well despite what Mersh keeps complaining about money-wise. He's there outside of the Eiffel Tower enjoying a drink. He's got his pinky out. He's got his coke nail on display. He's in Epcot. This is not really France. He decided on a weeknight with his wife, who I assume is also an adult. She looks a little bit like she crawled out of the mud. She's from some sort of primordial ooze, a sack of protoplasm of some sort, struck by lightning and brought to life through evil machinations of this earth. But anyway, they decided as an adult couple to go to Disney World for drinks, a thing that a normal human being would never do. Now, you would say, well, isn't that like almost cost prohibitive? But of course, Royce and his wife, they have season passes to Disney because Royce Lopez is a Disney adult. There's no two ways about it. And the most frightening part of this tale is Royce and his wife, despite the fact that they are both in their mid-40s, have no children. They're just doing this. What is it? What is it about the Disney parks that attracts people that maybe just don't belong? I looked deeper into it. Royce made a post. In fact, he tweets about Disney World all the time. Here's a random tweet. He says, when I was a kid in the 90s, my parents took us to Disney the first year they had Gay Day. Really? The first year they were on the ball that hard? What made them think that was... Anyway, obviously we had no idea it was a thing. Yeah, obviously. Sure. We walked around and my mom noticed how many gays there were in the park. I guess she had on the They Live sunglasses so she could tell. It wasn't until two dudes just started making out on Pirates of the Caribbean that my dad blew a fuse, rightfully so. All right. It wasn't even that it was gay guys, but just doing a PG-13 grope session in front of kids, regardless of sexual orientation, is creepy. He goes on and on about his first, canon event in his life, his formative memory of the gay people at Disney World, a place that he, again, as a childless adult, keeps going back to like it's fucking nothing. So I don't really know what the deal is when it comes to all of this. I'm not exactly sure what the attraction there is, but I do start to wonder, is there something connecting swingers, cuckolds, and Satan worshipers to being a Disney adult? Tonight on the program, I have a very special guest, a guy, you know him by the name Spumdonor on Twitter. He also has a YouTube channel called cartoonaesthetics. I'll be joined by Spum later in the program here to talk all about Disney adults, and we have to get to the bottom of what's going on. Now, I don't think he knows anything about this Royce character, but maybe he can help me uncover whatever dark mysteries lie ahead. This is PodAwful.
It will have you guessing what's next and what could happen to these boys.
All right, welcome everybody to the program. I am your host, Jesse P.S. This is PodAwful. We are live as we are Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. PodAwful.tv is the link. PodAwful.pizza for our archives and primo shows. Tonight's program is a primo one, but we got plenty of preview here for you for free. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, we just called him up here, my guest tonight, Spum from Cartoon Aesthetics. What's up,
Hey,
man?
Jesse.
Thank you so much for doing
How's
this.
it going?
Yeah, pretty good. How are you?
Not bad today. Yeah, we're ready to talk about Disney, aren't we?
Yes. Yes, we are. It's the people in the chat room. Somebody said, bring your Earthworm Jim wife to Disney World. Yeah, we'll get into that in just a little bit. I don't think Spum knows what you're talking about there in chat. Somebody says the Disney Village is for adults. It's all swingers and newlyweds. It's on the other side of the park. It's all nightclubs and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on when it comes to this Disney thing. You have put out on the Cartoon Aesthetics YouTube channel, you've put out, how many parts are going to be in the series, by the way? I know there's 2 parts out now.
Yeah, I've been making a documentary series called How Disney Stole Your Childhood. It's about
Yeah.
how Disney stole your childhood. So
Right.
obviously that's going to include some stuff about Disney adults. First 2 parts are on the channel right now, and third part will be up after I post something else, an interview with one of the original Ren and Stimpy guys that I'm excited about.
Oh, awesome. Do we get to secretly know who it is? This is an exclusive?
Yeah, it's I think yeah, it's Eddie Fitzgerald. I
Wow.
don't know if I mentioned it elsewhere, but yeah, Eddie Fitzgerald, John's right-hand man.
That's awesome.
I talked to him for like 7 hours, so it's going to be a long interview too.
That's awesome. Yeah, Spum was supposed to be on the, originally I'd asked him to be on the episode with Faceless and Sven, talking about the AI stuff. You just put out a video kind of as an addendum to my episode about that. It had a lot of really good points on there. If you've never seen the channel, Cartoon Aesthetics, you know, the way I like to sell it to people, because maybe you're not a John K. respecter like you and I. Maybe you're not a Ren and Stimpy guy like you and I, but there's a lot of really good, you have a lot of good pop culture and cultural insight when it comes to the overlap of these things, where my favorite thing you've done is you have this amazing, it's another 3-parter, I believe, on the indie comic Hate. And I believe it was the first part of that has this incredible meditation on Gen X. That's you put it in a way. These are thoughts I had and not been able to vocalize for years. It's an amazing watch. I do recommend everybody go check that out because it's very, very good. The whole series, but especially that part. And yeah, you put out the addendum to the AI episode, kind of invoking the, you know, we touched a little bit in that episode on David Lynch. I think Sven brought it up. And
yeah,
I was watching
and you
that.
contributed.
You go ahead. Sorry.
You contributed a AI generated Ghibli David Lynch to that video.
Yeah,
thanks for that.
I didn't even know that's what I was doing when I did it, but I did contribute some AI art to this thing about how AI art is probably bad. I do want to say, just in my own defense, you know, you mentioned the part of the show where we talked about, I mentioned that creativity essentially boils down to taking 2 or more things that already exist and combining them together. And that's pretty much what we're left
to some
with.
degree, sure.
To some degree, yeah. I don't want anybody to think I think that's all it is. You know, that some of that was me playing devil's advocate to Sven, who is
sure
very, very opinionated on things. So I did not want to get it. I didn't want anybody to think that my point of view on that episode maybe was not, you know, fully on display, to be honest.
You were just being a good host. I understand.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people come to me after that one too, talking about they're mad at me about this AI stuff. And it's you know, it's just the same arguments over and over again. And I keep finding myself being the person who has to defend AI when I don't really even care this much, all because the only thing I really had a problem with, and I think I said this to Sven, was a lot of the people who are so anti-AI are arguing about it from the point of view of the current ability of the technology. And this is what I have to keep saying to people, is like, it's going to improve. Like I don't think we've hit that wall yet, you know?
No. Remember when everybody was hung up on how it couldn't do hands right? Like that didn't take long, did it?
Thank you. Exactly. Now I will say this though, I keep experimenting with the AI since then, and I had no idea. All I've been doing is using it to do these like restyle things, not just the Ghibli stuff, but anything I can think of where I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to see this in, you know, claymation, Will Vinton style, or whatever. Or tonight's thumbnail, by the way, courtesy of a little bit of AI and a little bit of Jesse having to draw some shit back in, but you know, see it in the Disney style. And I realized, like, oh, wait a second, when I try to generate something out of whole cloth with it still actually sucks. It's really good at the restyling and making it look like other shit, But right now, making something brand new, it's gotten very good at people. And I think maybe that hands detractor thing is what has started that. But everything else still kind of blows. It's almost like impressionistic looking. It's not, it's not even like squint your eyes and it looks real. Certain things are just a blobby mess still.
Yeah.
And I think this is what
Yeah.
people are still thinking AI is that sort of thing. But I'm sure there's other services that are pretty good.
Well, something I was kind of curious about thinking about that was like, could I sketch out something and then just ask Grok to convert it to
Yeah.
Ghibli or Disney style or something, and then see what it does with those basic forms if it has that little extra guidance to it?
Yeah. What did it do? Did it do it?
Well, no, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm sure that's going to work better than just telling it to create something out of whole cloth.
So I attempted something like that. I took like a couple images of what I wanted for a thumbnail and put them into a thing. And then I just used like a yellow paintbrush and just very, like in the worst drawing ever, drew in certain details and then literally wrote on top of it with the paintbrush, this is this is that. And it did it. And it did. It was like, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't everything I wanted, but it was impressive. It was shockingly impressive. You can now take like a child's drawing basically and turn it into something that probably most people would be fooled by and think it's, and have no idea that it's AI until you're like really squinting and looking at every fucking thing. But anyway, I don't want to fucking, again, I'm not the AI guy, okay? It's funny to turn stuff into cartoons. That's it. That's all it is. It's funny to do it. It's especially funny to do it to Studio Ghibli shit when, the Miyazaki is absolutely wanting to blow his brains out over it. It just makes me laugh. Anyway, but let's talk about Disney adults. This is a topic. Now, I know as a fellow John K. respecter, I know that probably that is the route you come to this. Obviously, you, like myself, everybody basically grows up as a Disney kid. How can you avoid it? You watch all these things.
Right. It's just the default in our culture.
Right.
To grow up on Disney.
But I'm assuming your concentration on it is because of the criticisms that John Kricfalusi leveled against Disney and of course, like what it inspired after the fact.
Well, on John K's blog, johnkstuff.blogspot.com, which miraculously never got taken down, even though I remember at some point he had to take down like pages and pages of, well, the comment sections are gone, like no surprise there. But I remember I checked on there once and there were like pages and pages of angry comments left behind by one of his ex-girlfriends, and I wish I had saved them because they were only up for a day or something. Anyways,
yeah, well, they probably were taken down because they probably don't allow minors to post.
So this blog is like, to me, the most important document that's ever been written about the art and history of animation. Like, forget about The Illusion of Life or Chuck-a-Muck or any of these other books that you could get from the library about animation. Like, John K's blog is where it begins and ends. And yeah, he talked about Disney a lot, and he had this really nuanced appreciation of Disney where he really admired all the technical accomplishments they had, but he was critical in a really smart, articulate way about how conservative Disney is, and not politically conservative, even though, like Walt Disney was born in 1900 or something. Like, he's definitely conservative by today's standards, but conservative creatively, like how Disney would just sort of figure out how to do something and then they would just do it over and over and over again. They reuse character designs, they reuse plot structures, they reuse themes. And when Disney died and the company had to go on after him, it kind of got even worse in terms of like his successors just trying to turn everything into a formula. And so you have formulas based on formulas getting inbred and just kind of degenerating.
Yeah, I remember.
So yeah, John K was really smart and critical of that stuff.
I remember noticing even as a kid, like, how go you know what the one that got me? All of the Disney movies, all the cartoons as a kid, they always had the animal sidekicks. And that
Mhm.
was like, I remember being a kid and zeroing in on that. It was like one thing in Lion King with Timon and Pumbaa where it's like, well, they all are animals, but even here somehow there's an animal sidekick.
Yeah.
You can
Even the
feel
animals
it.
have animal
Right,
sidekicks.
you could feel it. Oh, these are the animal sidekicks. With the lions, you forget. They do a good job, and you forget that it's lions necessarily. It's just a story, and then fucking Timon and Pumbaa walk in, and you're like, oh right, this is a Disney movie. It is. I think it was Anastasia's not a Disney movie, right? The
No,
animated
but
Anastasia.
in the 90s, there were so many imitation Disney
Right.
movies, and not even like that direct to video, like Transmorphers trying to trick you into thinking you're getting
Yeah.
Transformers type stuff. It was just that other big studios were making more feature length animated films, but they weren't being creative with it. They were just trying to do Disney light or imitation Disney, and that's one of them. Yeah, Anastasia.
That one is the one where I went when I saw that there was a cartoon bat friend to the bad guy. I was like, okay, I seen Jafar. I know the parrot.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
we get what you're doing here, and that was when I realized, like, oh, this is the formula. This is every one of
Yeah.
these is a cookie cutter.
Yeah, they were like, well, that's how Disney does it. So we got to give the villain a funny animal sidekick.
What do you think? So, all of those, that's us, that's you and me, that's everybody we know, that's millennials. What does that do to the fucking brain of a kid who's too stupid to see those patterns, who didn't pick it up, who didn't read John K's blog, or who didn't get to go to lunch with John K?
A lot more people, right, who didn't get the character breakfast with John K as
Yeah.
seen here.
Yeah. This is so
Just-
funny. I was laughing so hard.
just a real wholesome scene based
Yeah.
on a famous photo.
Yeah. Do you think Anthony got this treatment? Or Anthony from Ren and Stimpy? Do you think he got to meet John K like this?
Well,
and go to-
actually, the Anthony from A Visit to Anthony got taken to Disneyland. That was part of the.
I'm so glad I asked. Fuck.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that was mentioned. Yeah, I remember reading that. Like they, some of the Spumco guys took him for a day at Disneyland. And I'm sure he had a great time.
Man, that was probably worth it. And then he got to star
Where-
in X-Men with Bryan Singer. Anyway,
did he?
no, I'm just never mind. Don't even think about that.
Where's Anthony now? I want to talk to him.
I would love.
Ask him
Yeah,
about
that
whole
would be
thing.
a great interview, actually. Anthony
Yeah, I got to
from-
track that guy down. Who
Yeah.
knows?
So what does this do to the brain? What is going on with the man babies, with the princess millennials?
Well, when I was making this documentary series, which wasn't, I wasn't just trying to regurgitate what John Kay said about it. It was sort of something that I'd been thinking about for a while as a parent, actually. It didn't really dawn on me until I was researching this stuff that our generation, the millennials, kind of got hit with Disney the hardest because of a few factors. One of them was like home video, making all the old stuff available in a way that it hadn't been before. And then also Disney movies, like new Disney movies, were really popular again in the 90s, starting with Roger Rabbit and then Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid and onward. And then you had all this imitation Disney. And millennial, I think the Disney adult phenomenon is kind of a specifically millennial phenomenon. I'm not saying there aren't any Xers who are Disney adults, but I think like the generation before, and maybe even the generation since to some degree, after millennials, have kind of viewed Disney more for what it is, which is, kid stuff. But millennials, it's just really a part of it really became a part of their personalities in a way that that was unique.
Well, see, here's the thing: is maybe I always wondered, like, maybe Disney would have taken hold of me better, because I remember the clamshells, everybody having those things, and I never really had them. I had like maybe 2 or 3. I had like Toy Story, which I feel like doesn't even count. And then like maybe 2 other ones. I wasn't really big on that VHS thing, but every time I went to another kid's house, they had those VHSs. And I'm wondering if maybe the reason I never really cared that much about Disney, even going to Disney World as a kid all the time, was because they didn't really represent my favorite Disney movie, Song of the South.
You know, the last theatrical re-release of Song of the South was, I think, in the mid '80s or something. So it wasn't really canceled until relatively recently. But somewhere they decided that this could not be part of the modern Disney image.
For me, for my age group, like the big Disney movie was Aladdin. That
Hmm.
was like the huge one. Every girl I knew loved that whole new world and stuff. That was like a big deal. They all wanted to be Jasmine. And
Right. Well, we talk, yeah. People talk about theater kids too now,
right.
and there is a real dovetail overlap between Disney adults and theater kids because,
Yes.
yeah, those popular '90s movies were all really focused on being musicals, and they had a couple of famous Broadway songwriters doing multiple of those movies, and yeah, like the songs, the soundtracks were as much those movies' promotion and popularity as anything. So yeah, a whole new world. Like mention a whole new world to anyone in our age demo, and it's like that really means something
They'll
to them.
start
It really
singing
touched
it.
them.
They will just start
They
singing.
will,
It's like
yeah.
fucking, it's gross. Like there's something haunted and gross about these people's minds. And, I get mistaken. Maybe for age, maybe because look at what I fucking do. I don't know. I get mistaken as one of these theater kids, right? And
Mm.
when I was a kid, when Aladdin came out, we were talking about the whole canceling Song of the South thing. I remember in school, we had to do a big I'm talking like elementary school. We had to do a big performance. So what do they have us sing? All the Disney songs. And I hated it. Now one, I'm not that big on music in general. I didn't want to have to sit there and sing and perform. I'm not one of these people at all. But the one thing I still remember from that whole debacle was that midway through learning the music, we had to relearn the Aladdin song. What's the opening Aladdin song where it's like
Oh,
Arabian
they had
Nights?
you. Yes, they had you censor the lyrics.
We
You had to
were
relearn it.
we
That's so
learned
funny.
the sense. So people might not know this, but when Aladdin came out, like when you saw it in the theater as a kid, it had a line in the song, and I still remember it because of this thing that happened to me. It had a line in the song where it was like, where they'll cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. They're just talking about all of Arabia. And so, and I guess at a certain point, Arabs said this is bad. And so when they started releasing it on VHS, they changed the lyrics. I don't remember the new ones, but we had to learn the new ones. And so when like because I hated doing it, my big defiant, I'm a stupid kid and I think I'm being defiant. And my big moment was during the song, I just sang the original version of it when we weren't supposed to. That happened mid us learning all of this, that whole controversy. And it had to be explained to us why it was bad. They're like, no, you don't understand. People from Arabia don't actually cut off your body parts. And then it turned out they do.
Yeah. Well, good for you rebelling like that. And
Yeah.
I had to sing Disney songs in music class in elementary school also. I literally
Yeah.
have lyrics to Beauty and the Beast songs ingrained in my brain
We had to
because
do that one
they were
too.
making us they were making us sing them over and over. It's like it was like growing up in North Korea or something. You just had this propaganda drilled into you.
Yes, I had I still have the tune to the what is that fucking Beauty and the Beast song where it's like
Our guest.
be our guest. Yes, exactly. I refused to learn once we got to that one, I was already so mad that I was having to learn all these songs as a kid. And I was never into, Beauty and the Beast is for girls. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I was sitting there going like, I'm a boy. I shouldn't be learning this song. And so I have the tune in my head, but I never learned the words. And so to this day, when I hear some idiot playing that song or whatever, or you're at Disney World and you hear it or whatever happens, in my head, it's still the gibberish I was singing as a child on stage for my parents as they're recording it. And then they just throw that tape away. I've never seen that tape. They're always recording these things. I've never seen 1 ounce of any proof that any of these things ever happened off of my parents. It's not like they're sitting there watching it back going, wow, great job, Jesse. Yeah, doobie bop, bb doo, ba ba doobie dee dee. That's what I think the lyrics are to that song. So somehow you and I were inoculated against this, and I'm going to assume it's because, you know, Sundays Nickelodeon, Ren and Stimpy comes on. I assume it's that we are more interested in magic nose goblins than we are in princesses getting their guy or whatever.
Yeah, you know, imagine it's like 1991 and your kid's sister is just singing Beauty and the Beast songs all around the house all day. And then Ren and Stimpy comes on. It's going to feel like a revelation.
See, I didn't even think of that. I didn't have a sister. That's got to be a nightmare. And, you know, she's probably trying to put her little tiara on you. She's basically turning you into a hypno slave sissy boy.
Yeah, it's sissy hypno. Yeah, but well, you said it. Disney is for the girls. It's for girls. It's never been forgotten. You know, like it's so rare when Disney makes something specifically for a male audience that you can pretty much count them on one hand. Like I guess a Goofy movie would be one of them, but I can't even name a second. I can't even name a second. I can't even name a second one off the top of my head that wasn't like for girls.
Yeah, Little Mermaid was also real big, and every girl, you know, if you knew a redheaded girl, she thought she was fucking Ariel. Sorry, I got bad news for you. You know, you can barely go out in the sun. Forget not having legs, like you're a freckle freak and you have boogers all over your face. You're not Ariel. Princess Jasmine and Lion King. That was like, I probably was aging out right around. Did Lion King or Aladdin come out last? Which one of those was
Aladdin was 92, Lion King was 94,
Okay,
I think.
so
And I guess you
Lion
could say that Lion King is for boys, but it's more just for kids in general. Like I can't imagine
it's for furries. They're trying to.
It's for furries.
It is. They're trying to make you think about them. The girl one having sex with him, with Simba and all that shit. I don't know. She's doing bedroom eyes in that movie. It's kind of freaky. Oh, I wanted to ask you about this. That reminds me. What do you think about all the you know, all that stuff about where they're like there's secret sexual messages and stuff? It's all
that stuff is probably true because animators get bored and they don't. This is before people were like freeze framing every second of movies on their VCRs, so they were just putting it in for their own amusement. I don't think it was particularly sinister.
Also, like, I feel like you have to be a horny gooner freak in order to be an animator. There's like very few, in my estimation, there's very few examples of dudes who are cartoonists that aren't into, you know, drawing a lady's anatomy, drawing her natural illustrations and such like that. And so it always struck me as true. I remember seeing, you know, they would say like on the Little Mermaid cover that the castle had a cock in it.
Oh yeah, and in the marriage scene, there's a priest.
He gets a
with
boner. He gets a boner. Dude, when I was a teenager, okay, this is still, the Blockbuster still existed, I think when I'm like early teens, there's still a Blockbuster. And we went out, you know, all my friends, guys, girls, we all go out to Blockbuster. We're going to rent a few movies and have a big party. And they're like, we got to get Little Mermaid. And of course, I'm freaking out going, no hypno sissy stuff here. Wait until 2011 when that gets popular. And they are like, no. We want to see the guy get a boner. I guess that rumor was like really raging around this time. And we rented it. He gets a fucking bone. There's no, you can't explain it any other way. I've seen them say, no, it's his foot moving around. That dude, they drew an old priest getting a boner. It's right there in the fucking movie. You can't deny it. I do think that the Aladdin one is fake, where they're like, they say that Aladdin says something like all good teenagers take off their clothes or something like that, which seems more like something you would hear in the adult party cartoon, really. But I've listened back to that one, and that one is not real, I'm pretty sure. But you know, the one that is real, and I've seen this one too. I had a girlfriend that rented The Rescuer. What is it? Is it The Rescuers?
Probably The Rescuers Down Under, the 90s sequel.
I can't remember if it was the original one or the sequel, but in one of those, there's infamously a single frame
Oh,
where
yeah, you're right. That's the original,
I think
and
it's the
they
original.
put a naked lady's picture in one of the backgrounds.
They hid the naked lady in there, and my girlfriend rented this. And just like the Aladdin thing where they destroyed that original funnier line from the song, they tried to remove this. They tried to put out, but we managed to get a copy that had it. And sure enough, it's in that movie. And there's this thing, people talk about subliminal messages and stuff like that. Do you think that really affects people? Because I do feel like the Disney adults are also all sex freaks. They're cum people.
Well, here's like where it becomes a generational phenomenon for me again, because I think in those millennial era Disney movies, like they're sort of sexually charged in a way that more recent Disney movies probably aren't. Like you're you have these princess characters, and kind of the whole story revolves for Disney princess stories around like sexual awakening, and Ariel
Yeah.
she wants a human lower half, and
Right.
she has to kiss a boy to make her dreams come
Which,
true.
if I
And
was
then
Prince Eric, I would want to see what's going on with that fish pussy, At least try it. I mean, it's like the one time you get a pass, I think.
yeah, just drop your load on some eggs. It's
Yeah,
easy.
yeah. Caviar is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, what do you think A Whole New World is about, right? It's like
Exactly.
they're kind of these thinly veiled metaphors for sexual awakening,
On
which
a
is why,
magic carpet ride.
yeah,
Hello.
millennial girls got hit really hard psychologically with this stuff.
That fucks you up. So what does it mean then that a guy is a Disney adult? Because we all know when you hear Disney adult, I think the average person pictures a woman. We've seen these people, and
Yeah,
lots of
they're
women are like that, but guys are pretty
they're
rare.
predominantly women for sure. Yeah, I think with the guys, I mean, either you're gay and you're into musical theater,
Right?
because there's a lot of songs in the Disney catalog to sing if you're into that. Uh,
Yeah.
or if you're a straight guy, um, you know, I think you're sort of just like in an arrested development
Mm.
state, because when I see Disney fans online, um, they just sort of seem very self-consciously childlike, and they sort of pride themselves on a sense of innocence that
Mhm.
being into these kids movies gives them, and they treat it like it makes them a good person, a moral person, to have this
Right.
childlike view of the world that Disney movies taught them, and that they keep reinforcing. So yeah, if you're not gay, you're just kind of stunted if you're a male Disney adult.
The innocence thing is actually very interesting to me as well. The safe aura you give off supposedly by being a
Hmm.
Disney adult. Now there is one other thing, I think the pornographic sexual conspiracy theory about Disney movies is pretty much true. Most of those are true. Most of those you can just look at it and see seems to be right there. And then obviously the themes like you talked about. There is another conspiracy thing that goes on with Disney stuff. I don't think I've heard you ever talk about this. What do you think about it? Do you think there's any merit to it? The satanic slash dark, Freemasonic imagery. You know what I mean? Like there's all these memes out there of different Disney shows and movies where it shows the all-seeing eye and straight up actual references where it says Illuminati and things like that. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a little bit out of my scope of knowledge, but I do know a few things. One, I know that Disney himself was a Freemason. I don't know if he ever achieved the highest level, which is 33, a 33rd level
33rd
Mason.
degree, yeah.
But there is a Club 33 at Walt Disney World,
I
which is
noticed
kind
that when I was there recently. I was like, wait a sec. I pointed out to my wife, who is very conspiratorial and very anti-Freemason and stuff. I was like, this Club 33, 33. And, that they say his head's buried under the haunted mansion, cryogenically frozen and stuff like that. There's all sorts of weird, dark, mysterious stuff going on with Disney. And it does seem to be true. You know, there are images out there that aren't doctored from Disney shows where they're talking about the Illuminati. And it's like, why is that in a Disney show? Why would you sneak that in? It's not like, you know, when they sneak weird shit into like a Nicktoon, you're like, well, that's because there's also, you know, back in the day, they're showing those on MTV as well, and some stoner sitting there laughing at it. You know, he understands why that Rocco's Modern Life, Rocco is working at a phone sex place, but the kid does not understand. Like, that's one of those, there's a joke for an adult, a joke for the kid, and everybody's happy to have the cartoon on sorts of things. But then there's just these little Easter eggs that you have to, again, you have to freeze frame it in order to see it, and it starts being subliminal again.
Yeah, well, you know, the Disney aesthetic is so hyper fixated on wholesomeness that it sort of invites these dark little in jokes more than animation that is skewed a little bit older or is a little bit more sophisticated than that, because nobody's looking for like the hidden dark side of classic Looney Tunes, because those cartoons have a little bit more edge to them.
Right.
But when something has a squeaky clean image, we want to see the dark side of it. And I have to assume that people working on Disney movies probably feel a little bit oppressed by working in that environment, because they're still human beings at the end of the day. And so they're probably like, yeah, let's put a naked lady's picture in the background of this scene just for a goof, just to let off a little steam, just to be a little subversive.
Damn, imagine being the teenage kid that's so hard up in the middle of the 80s that he's got to pause The Rescuers just to jack off, you know, pre-internet.
Well, it's a really shocking one. You can see Jessica Rabbit's pussy in some deleted frames from Roger Rabbit.
I saw it. Trust me, I saw it.
And in the early days of the internet, that was one of those things that people really got excited about discovering and scanning the freeze frame, so you can download it on a 14K modem.
I knew it pre-internet. I mean, like I said, I only had a few. Roger Rabbit's such an amazing movie. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? So crazy and groundbreaking, and that was one of the few movies. It's not a Disney movie per se, is it? It's not a Disney one, is it?
Well, it was, yes, but it was
Mickey Mouse is in it.
It was right. It was distributed by Touchstone Pictures,
right.
which was like their slightly edgier distribution company for stuff that's not quite squeaky clean enough for Disney
Right.
stuff that has
when
a
Disney
little
wants
bit
to
of an edge.
hide that they're Disney and put something out, they do Touchstone. Yeah, so I had that one, and my mom was like, "Why is this tape so worn out in the middle?" So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, when they're
Sorry, go ahead.
As soon as the cab's tires get blown out, the tape just starts warping. It's weird.
Yes. It's so funny too, because when you see what they're talking, like, oh my God, you can see her vagina. It's like, it's a drawing. So you know what that means? It's one line. There's just a little tiny line right there at her crotch. And it's probably honestly like a misdrawn, they probably were drawing her underwear and just didn't complete the line, because you would never see it. No one ever thought you would ever see this paused forever. It would be captured like that. But
yeah. So getting back to what you were saying, I don't think that the inclusion of dirty little in jokes from animators is part of some greater satanic mind programming operation. That stuff was all done by the Disney Music Group with all those pop stars that came later.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a separate topic from Disney animation.
Man, I somehow, well, I know how. I completely avoided being one of those Disney Channel kids. One, because I'm a little older in age group than when that really became a big popular thing. But two, you had to pay for the Disney Channel originally. I remember being a little kid, and they would sometimes give you the Disney Channel for free as like an incentive to subscribe to it. And then they would run a little banner at the bottom going, "Hey kids, tell your parents to subscribe on their cable provider to the Disney Channel. It's only another $150 a month," or whatever. And I always thought, man, this subscription model thing sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway, this
Well,
full episode is going to be in the pizza fund. I just want to remind everybody real quick, Spum, sorry to interrupt, but podawful.pizza if you want to see this full discussion, $12 level and up, and you get access to all of our archives, primo episodes, after shows, and so on. Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
speaking of pizza, right? Well, Disney Channel was part of whatever cable package my parents had. But
Yeah.
when Disney Channel sitcoms, crap like Even Stevens or Hannah Montana, like that just really didn't do anything for me at all. I'm sure I was kind of aging out of it at the time, but I'm sure a lot of girls were watching it like well into their teen years, and that's the Disney Channel view of adolescence and young adulthood was something that probably set up a lot of millennial women to have really awful personalities and unrealistic expectations about life.
Everybody talks about like the Nickelodeon kids and them all getting molested by Dan Schneider and stuff, but man, those fucking kids out of the Disney Channel are the Earth's raped. They are so raped. It's so, I mean, look at Shia LaBeouf. That's all you need to know. He's from Even Stevens.
Right. Well, and they would kind of like, there were shows like Hannah Montana where it's a sitcom, but then the star of the sitcom is also a pop star. And then a few years down the road, they're still doing this. Like, I don't know, JoJo Siwa, is that her name?
Yeah.
Like they always do this. They always do this turn where they reinvent themselves as like an empowered slut. And like, that's what your kid grew up with. Your kid grew up with JoJo Siwa as like the cool, chick, good role model, basically wholesome. But then down the line, at some point, she does that turn, and what kind of message is that sending to your kids who grew up with her? Like, oh, I guess it's my turn to take that turn in life now.
Definitely. One other thing, specifically getting into the root of this, like, the animation itself, the way it looks, Disney movies, the style of a Disney movie.
Yeah, the art style.
Every one of them, while some of them can look very different, there is that Disney-fied, Disney-esque, you know it when you see it look. We were talking about the imitators before. They're going for that as well. Describe to the people out there what if you were trying to look for it, what is it?
Well, this is kind of where words fail me and why I had to start a YouTube channel instead of just tweeting about this stuff, because at some point when you're talking about cartoons, you do have to use visual examples. But when you say the Disney style, people know what that means. AI has no problem replicating the Disney style. It can take a picture, you can tell it to make it Disney style, and you know what it's going to do with it, and it works. But the Disney visual style, I think in my video I described it as just kind of being focused on cuteness,
Right.
to the exclusion of all other considerations. It's really like trying to emphasize maximum cuteness in everything. Even some of the stuff that's supposed to be not cute or scary. And they stray from the formula a little bit sometimes, but never really for too long or too far.
We were speaking a little bit before the show, and I referred to my own children as neotenists, which you were quick to point out that you've never heard it used actually about a kid. It's always about some sort of, Japanese character that is a 50 million year old vampire that's also a child, and you can jack off to it for some reason.
Yeah, like most people, I learned the word neoteny from discussions of why Japanese people are pedophiles and the cartoons are all for pedophiles.
Yeah, but I think that's a big part of the, obviously anime took big influence from Disney as well. And I think that's a big part of it too. It's those, it's the neotenous features. It's that, like you said, cute, the big eyes. And it's not just big, by the way. I would say it's like vulnerable, I think is maybe the right word. Like big, vulnerable eyes, vulnerable, like big, surprised expressions.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of different ways that something can look cute, right? But Disney cute is a specific kind of cute, which you could look back at, like, I don't know, Peter Pan from the early 50s, and the way they're drawing kids in that movie from 70 years ago is not too different from the way that Disney kids get drawn now, in something like I don't know, Frozen 3 or whatever.
It's interesting you say Peter Pan because, this Disney adult thing, it's synonymous Peter Pan syndrome. They also call it. But somebody I know with Peter Pan syndrome, one of the strangest things, they have the Disney eyes look. They always look like they've got the vulnerable big eyes, and yet you've never seen a less cute thing in your life. This is Royce Lopez. Okay. Now I know you don't really know who this is, right? But
no.
He hosts this show called Revenge of the Cis, and it sucks. It blows. And he's a Disney adult. And if you look at him, like, you see what I'm talking about, right? His face has this element of neoteny to it, even though it also has butthole eyes. He's almost the perfect in-between, the combination of the Disney neoteny and then the like John K. Spumco gross-ups sort of. There's horrifying details going on here. Of course, his head has corner lumps, a thing only previously seen in a lummox. There's really some horrifying things going on there. What do you think the deal is with that?
Well, I mean, it's not an attractive man that we're looking at, but
No.
yeah, I think the expression that he's making, I guess maybe this is like something common to adults who watch children's cartoons well into their adulthood. They wind up kind of trying to do cartoonish expressions when they're photographed, like the soy face meme. Like, yeah, like guys started doing that, I think, because they just thought it was like a funny cartoonish expression, and it's like something a kid would do if they were trying to be funny, but you got these grown adults doing it. So yeah, perhaps some Disney adults are trying to have a little bit of the Bambi big-eyed look to them.
Isn't it fascinating too that a lot of the people doing soy face are doing it at Disney World? They're always just pointing to something at Disney World, going, "Ah!" Definitely don't screenshot me doing that to Royce, by the way. People watch, "Ah!" Because Royce is not only a Disney adult, but he also has that dark aura around him. In fact, it's maybe a lot darker than you would think, and I feel like maybe those subliminal messages, both the sexual ones and the satanic ones, might have gotten to Royce. See, something you don't know about this, Spum, is Royce is heavily rumored to have had a satanic wedding, okay, involving a flaming sword. And Royce spends just about every single week of his life going to Disney World with his wife. And he and his wife are mid-40s. He's like 45 years old. And they have no children. But they go there all the time. They live nearby, which, I know it's kind of a thing for someone who lives in Orlando or the Orlando area to go to Disney World. And I can even understand it to some degree. I'm sure, the rides are fun. I get it. But they're spending a lot of time there. And furthermore, despite the fact that Royce is a conservative who is constantly talking about other people being Disney adults, he does a whole segment on his show about fat people going to Disney World. They're like plus-size park hoppers. And until very recently, he was over 400 pounds himself. And now he's down to 300. And he's pointing the finger.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, well, it's very well. Now, I will say that a lot of that was a psyop that PodAwful did against him, which we will talk about. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a second here. I'll explain the psyop that happened and why we did this. But not only is he always pointing the finger at everybody else for being childless and being, liberal, which you'd think Disney adult, kind of a liberal type of person. He is a childless, possibly satanic, and this is rumored, no one's quite sure, a swinger. And not just any kind of swinger, but specifically a hot wife swinger. Are you familiar at all with hot wifery?
That's a cuckold's wife, is a hot wife?
Yeah, so you sit in the cuck chair in the hotel room and you watch your wife get plowed. And there's been plenty of reason to believe, and I know this isn't really your field of expertise, Spum. Exactly, but I had this big phone call with him years ago, where it's on the Pizza Fund, PodAwful.pizza if you want to hear it, World War, where we found out that Royce was trying to cheat on his wife. Okay, which doesn't seem very trad and red-pilled and based and conservative to me either. It doesn't seem very Disney adult. I thought they had a magical marriage, you know, it was happily ever after.
Yeah.
And it was strange because Royce kept saying in the call, it's okay, it's open. It's an open relationship. And nobody took this seriously. They thought he was just trying to get away with cheating. But there was this element to it where I think originally we couldn't figure out what he meant by this, but he was attempting to cheat on his wife. What we didn't understand at the time is that his wife is allowed to step out on him. He's not allowed to step out on her. It's one of those types of arrangement. It's a Disney adult arrangement, if you catch my drift. And I feel like, I mean, am I crazy for thinking that a lot of Disney adults are like this? Like have you ever been to a Comic-Con?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the fact that there's a lot of like sex parties at hotel rooms at Comic-Cons?
Oh, yeah. I mean, before Comic-Cons got as corporatized as they did, and anime conventions, like those were just like big, sweaty nerd hookup cesspools.
Yeah, it's a cesspool of dead pools. So the, Royce, by the way, goes to Comic-Cons as well. I think there's a lot of crossover with Comic-Con and Disney adults. I didn't realize any of this. You know, every time I've ever ended up in one of these worlds, I'm always flabbergasted by it, as I'm sure you are currently flabbergasted by the things I'm saying right now. And I have to listen, I have all this proof. Okay. I have proof that Royce is into the pineapple lifestyle, as they call it.
These are secret codes I didn't know about.
Yeah, I didn't either. I had to be made aware of this to learn more. And I've been sitting on this stuff for years now, and I've never done the episode about Royce because he seems harmless. And everybody says this to me. They go, Jesse, Royce is don't make fun of Royce. He's harmless. I almost feel bad for Royce. And I was watching your videos about the Disney adults and about the Disneyfication of childhood. And I realized, wait a second. Royce uses his Disney adult pass. He uses it like a pussy pass where he seems innocent. And he's got those big doe eyes. And I go, oh, it's Bambi. I don't want to shoot his mom. And I'm realizing, no, he's into evil, satanic, freakish fucking shit. And I mean really bad. I mean so bad I can't show it on YouTube. Now, I've been wanting to share this publicly for some time because I think it's very important for the conservative guys out there who follow Revenge of the Cis to realize what it is they're supporting. But I can't do it on YouTube. So I made a little edited version. The only reason we're doing this in the Pizza Fund, the only reason this is behind the paywall is because I literally cannot do it on YouTube. The things I'm going to show are horrifying. If Disney had to release this as a movie, it would be under the Touchstone Pictures label, if you catch my drift. So I've made a little edited, censored rundown package here for you, just to give you an idea. Take a look at this. PodAwful News exclusive. Royce Lopez from Revenge of the Cis follows cuck-themed Florida swingers account. And here you can see it's a Florida couple at Mr. Stag 407. Royce follows it. Lots of horrifying images, hot wife imagery, even trans and gay porn. There's Royce. Just so you remember what Royce looks like. He's the sex pervert. Look, they even followed him back. The couple, the cuck account followed Royce back. Isn't that amazing? And then here's Marie Pineapple posting. This is the secret Disney code for swingers.
Oh, no.
If you show pineapples, you're into swinging. And I'm going to go over all of this in grave detail, really show this to you. Here's Royce's new co-host that Marie made him get. And here he is. He was caught liking one of the hot wife posts. There he is showing off his hot wife. Really hot stuff, by the way. I kind of wish I was Bambi's mom right now. Royce, that day I was posting this, he posted pineapple posts. I thought, there's no way. And of course, there's Frank Hassel monitoring the situation on this. So, Spum, I think we got to go over to the Pizza Fund for this full version. You want to find out all about Royce and his disgusting sexual depravity?
Absolutely, yeah. I can stick around a little longer.
Oh, okay, great. We'll be going to the Pizza Fund in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail here. Take a look at this. We'll be right back.
Support the show. Join the Pizza Fund. PodAwful.pizza.
Pizza.
PodAwful.pizza.
Someone during the break there said that Royce's wife Marie has Ren Hoek feet, and nothing has ever been said that's truer. Holy shit. We're going to zoom in on her feet. I've got a million images. We are going to go detail by detail into the disgusting, depraved Disney adult world that is the Lopez family, what they've been hiding from their conservative audience this entire time. And, you know, my focus, has been on Royce's co-host for years now, Mersh. And I think that I'm pretty sure he's using Mersh as like this human shield, basically, this like troll shield to never have to deal with any of, you know, the detractors or anything like that, never have to deal with me. Really quick, I just wanted to show people there was Monday, we did an episode about Mersh, and we were supposed to have on Milo Yiannopoulos, and unfortunately he couldn't make last second. He couldn't make it. He sent me a message about this. In case you missed it, here's Milo's message to the PodAwful cult.
To the viewers of PodAwful, I'm sorry I couldn't make yesterday's episode, but I wanted you to know how welcome you are. You are welcome. And although I'll never really know who Mersh is, I felt instinctively that this was someone who deserved to suffer. God bless.
So thank you very much to Milo for that. There's people just tuning in. Somebody said, wait, what's the guest name? This is Spum, a.k.a. at Spumdonor on Twitter. Please give him a follow. Cartoon Aesthetics on YouTube. And soon to be running away from this episode as quickly as possible, I'm sure, because of the horrifying nature of what I'm about to reveal to everybody. In fact, just real quick, I just saw this. This is the image that comes up when you Google Royce Lopez. And take a careful look here. I'd never noticed. I've seen this picture a million times. This is not edited. Marie is wearing a pineapple shirt. How many times have we seen this image? Nobody's ever noticed.
Were they trying to recreate the Eyes Wide Shut poster there?
There's some. Yeah, dude. Good fucking call. There, I told you there's fucking creepy Illuminati, satanic shit going on here. Holy shit. I've looked at that picture so many times and went, what is this? What are they doing? That face he's making. You're right. It's just like in the mirror on the poster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. I'm glad you said that. That is so fucked up. So I've got, again, like thousands of photos of them. I have the entire uncensored archives of what's going on in his cuckold/swinger lifestyle. I have, by the way, the information on their old co-hosts. You know, Mersh, Royce, they've had many other co-hosts over the years. These guys are all sex perverts. Every single one of these people, I've got it all. Archives we pulled up forever. And then the big question for many years now has been, did Royce have a satanic wedding? Was a flaming sword involved? What's going on? Was Mersh there? Is Mersh involved in the satanic wedding? This has been a question. We've been spreading this rumor for years, just unfoundedly. Nobody knew for sure, but everybody knew that something about this had been discussed. I have the answer. I have everything. I have the proof. And the truth about Royce's wedding is even fucking worse than you thought. The actual truth of it is a million times worse. We've got it all in the Pizza Fund. Again, follow at Spumdonor on Twitter and subscribe to Cartoon Aesthetics on YouTube. Anything else you want to say before we head over to the Pizza Fund?
No, I need to know all about this guy immediately right now. Go.
Okay. All right. We will be right back over in the Pizza Fund. Join at PodAwful.pizza, and we'll see you over there in just a second.
Sorry, nigga.
I'm Tom Gully, and you're watching Is This Live, the show
This content right here
on the PodAwful TV network.
is Pizza Fun's own.
PodAwful.pizza.
This shit is beefer. You're listening to Howdy Do with J. Crew.
PodAwful.pizza.
We got shooters in these streets.
Nigga.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Is this a cult if I ever heard one? Yes, it is. It's a cult. I mean, it's the cult of cult.